You're watching Faith and Reason, a talk show about God, politics, and pop culture. From the perspective of three pastors who are not afraid to tackle and ask the hard questions. Faith and Reason, a Christian talk show for those on a spiritual journey.
Good evening. Welcome to Faith and Reason, a program that looks at a number of issues from a Christian perspective. And we're here to talk about homelessness in New York City. And here to talk about it, my name is, first of all, Rick Spence. I'm the pastor of Fort Lee Gospel Church. With me is Pastor Dominic Apollo from First Reformed Church, who's my co-host. And our special guest is Pastor David Burns from St. Paul's House in Manhattan. We want to talk about a unique ministry in the heart of Manhattan. But first of all, David, I'd like you to describe a little bit of what is St. Paul's House, who's it named, which is the saint it's named after, Saint, which Paul was that, and what do you do in the city? Just open us up with that.
Well, St. Paul's House was founded by Reverend James Jefferson Davis Hall, an Episcopalian evangelical. Mm-hmm. And Dad Hall was a kind of individual who would walk up and down the streets of Manhattan, and he would carry signs that would say things like, "Saloons, a door to hell." Mm-hmm. He was a very unique man, very unusual. And he is the original founder of St. Paul's House, and Creighton Dunlap, who was his assistant director, saw him preaching on the street and simply said, if he has that much conviction to preach, I'm going to go out and listen to him. They became good friends, and together they started the ministry. And first out of a cold water flat.
When was that?
It was about 1942.
Okay.
43.
Right. Good.
Yeah.
Good. And how long have you been involved then with it yourself?
Well, I came to St. Paul's House as a college student. I attended Nyack College, and it was my first Christian service assignment, and I'm still on it.
Which is?
42 years.
42 years, okay.
42 years.
So you got some experience here.
Right. There have only been three directors of St. Paul's House,
right.
Creighton Dunlap, of course, James Jefferson Davis Hall, and myself.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I'm still there and pushing along. So
good, good. And where is St. Paul's located?
St. Paul's House is located at 335 West 51st Street between 8th and 9th Avenues in Manhattan.
Okay, the heart of the city. Yeah.
Heart of the city, the crossroads of America,
right,
and often the crossroads of many people's lives.
Right, right, very good. By way of disclosure, our church has been a volunteer part of this ministry for at least 10 years, maybe 12 years, and simply what we do is we go in on Saturday mornings once a month, and we help out a little bit with serving breakfast and leading a Bible study kind of little worship service. Describe a little bit of what you do, and you've been there too,
Sure.
Dominic, haven't you? And you've met each other, and you've known each other over the years as well. Describe more about what the ministry is. What do you do on a daily basis?
Well, St. Paul's House feeds the homeless in the morning. We have only one meal for the homeless, and that's in the morning. That's the breakfast meal. Of course, we don't actually serve a breakfast. We serve a warm meal, a complete meal.
Okay.
And we do serve a second feeding to the residents of St. Paul's House. Those are those who we have taken off the streets and brought into the house, and they actually live in the house with us. So we have a 10-bed residency program.
Okay.
And we take those men in, and we provide for them room and board, clothing, training, of course. The idea is to get the men to have all of their needs met so that they're able to spend their time going out and looking for a job. It's very hard to look for a job when your clothes aren't clean, when you don't smell well,
Right.
And if you're hungry, your stomach's growling all the time. So the idea is to provide all of these things for them so they are able to go out and look for work.
Good.
And what type of person would be a resident there?
Well, right now we have older men right now. We have many different ages that come to the mission, but we try to work with older men, and we keep the age groups together. In other words, we like them to be about the same age because they literally live together. The men do not have special rooms. They live right with us. They eat breakfast with us. They eat lunch with us. They eat dinner with us.
When you say us now, your family lives in the same building?
We had for years. They don't right now, but all the staff does.
I see.
And so they have free roam of the house. We use the same laundry. Everything is done. It's a family style. We eat family style at night. The idea is to get the men to mix with us as much as they possibly can so that we can get a little closer to them and be able to talk with them about their personal problems. People open up that way as opposed to just simply sitting across in front of someone at a desk. If you can get them to interact with you, they open up and they say a lot more.
And what kind of circumstances brought people to that need of staying with you as well?
Well, the general view of homeless people is that they are alcoholics, they're a bum that are laying in the street. That's not the case anymore. Many people are just one paycheck away from homelessness themselves. And so we are finding that a lot of people who come out of good jobs, who lost their jobs, particularly after 9/11, there's a tremendous amount of layoffs. And so a lot of those people came into the mission. And they're good people. We find that the sooner we get them back to work, the better chance that they're going to endure and make it back in society again. The longer a person stays homeless, the more dependent he becomes upon the system. And we become as much a part of the problem as we are a part of the solution.
Right. Now, to be fair, we've all gone into Manhattan and we've all seen someone who's sleeping in front of a building perhaps, or has got a little cardboard box that has become home. Now, you have some involvement with that person. I'm sure you don't take a person from that place and say, oh, stay in this bed over here beside my wife and kids, or whatever the case may be. But how do you reach out to the person who is that stereotypical homeless person as well?
What we do, as they come in the morning, we observe them, we watch them. And we choose a pool of men to come up sort of the ladder a little bit from just simply coming and having breakfast with us, to live in the house. And we are looking for people who we feel that we can help advance as quick as we possibly can. There are some that are much easier to reach, some that are more ready to get back into the job skills. So we look for those kind of people because those are the ones we are a working man shelter. You must be working in order to live there. You have to be out of the house by 10 o'clock in the morning. You cannot come back until 5 o'clock in the evening. The idea is to get them moving, make them uncomfortable. Don't let them get comfortable because shelters are a great place to get comfortable.
Right.
And so we are pretty strict with them. They have to really get out there and work.
Where have you seen God move? What are some stories where you've seen a powerful move of God to change your life?
Well, we have a lot of stories to tell about people who have come across. We had one man who came to the mission. He was on his way to the Hudson River. He was going to throw himself into it. Actually, he couldn't decide whether he wanted to die in the East River or die in the Hudson River. He came by and he saw our cross and he came in. He stayed with us for a while. He made a real commitment to himself and towards his family again. Several years later, I got a telephone call from him. He said, I'd like to come over and visit you. He brought his family with him, had his job back, his marriage was healed, and he was doing just fine. So people get into circumstances where their whole life is affected. And homelessness is one where a person just simply wasn't prepared for the difficult situations that come across in a person's life. Some people aren't able to handle those.
We're going to continue this conversation in just a moment, but if we can just take a little break, we're going to look at one of our churches and we'll come back in just a minute. So thank you for watching. We're going to continue this conversation with Pastor Burns in a moment.